For years, the space above Earth had been calm. The satellites moved quietly. The defense stations watched silently. The humans below lived in peace, believing the worst was behind them. Earth had become quiet, strong, and hidden, but far beyond Earth's orbit, in the cold dark of space, a warning beacon blinked red. No one noticed at first. The beacon was old, hidden deep near the edge of the solar system. It had been placed there long ago during the First Contact War. Back then, the galaxy had learned a hard lesson. Never attack Earth without expecting fire in return. That warning had kept most alien fleets away. Until now, a new species had arrived. They called themselves the Varnock. Their ships were large and black like shadows. They believed Earth was weak again. They had seen no activity, no fleets, no threats. Just silence. "Scan complete," said one Varnock captain. "Only defense. Satellites, no military movement, they are sleeping." Another voice replied, "Then it is time. We strike now. We will take the planet and its technology." Their fleet of 15 warships moved forward, cloaked and silent. They passed Pluto. They passed Mars. Still, Earth did nothing, but Earth had always been watching. On a small moon station orbiting Neptune, a human officer named Mark sat alone in front of a quiet control panel. The alarms had been off for years. Then the screen turned red. "Unidentified ships entering inner system," the computer said. Mark blinked. Then he stood, heart pounding. He pressed a button labeled Code, Reawaken. Far below, in Earth's deep underground command bunkers, lights flickered on. Old systems woke up. Sleeping AIs opened their eyes. The peace was broken. On the surface, people noticed nothing. They were still walking, shopping, eating, and working. But deep in orbit, hundreds of hidden doors opened across the upper atmosphere. From those doors came light, bright, golden light. Then, movement. They were called the Arc-Light Fleet. These ships had no names, no flags. They were designed in secret during the final days of the war, then kept in sleep mode. Humans had hoped never to need them again. But now, one by one, they came alive. Sleek ships with wings like folded glass. Engines that didn't hum, they sang. Weapons that didn't glow, they shimmered with heat from another dimension. At first, the Varnock didn't see them. They were too close to Earth now, preparing to land. Then a flash. One of their rear cruisers exploded. "Impact," shouted the Varnock pilot. "Unknown source. Return fire. Find the attacker." But they couldn't, because the attacker was moving faster than light sensors could track. The Arc-Light ships danced between the enemy fleet like ghosts. With every pass, another Varnock ship fell apart, sliced clean through. "Who is this?" screamed the Varnock commander. Then on every Varnock screen, a message appeared in clear galactic common. "You have broken the silence. Now, remember why." Earth was left alone. Panic followed. The Varnock fleet tried to retreat, but it was too late. Earth was not sleeping. It had only been patient. What had emerged from the calm above Earth was no ordinary force. It was something new, something forged, in silence, something built not just to fight but to remind the galaxy. The peace was over, and the galaxy would never be the same. The message echoes: the Varnock fleet was falling apart. From 15 mighty warships, only 6 were left. The others were nothing but debris, burning silently in the cold space near Earth's orbit. Inside the Varnock command vessel, chaos ruled. Sparks flew from broken panels. Officers yelled over each other. The commander, a tall creature with thin limbs and silver eyes, slammed his fist on the console. How can this be? Their ships weren't here before. Where did they come from? No one had answers. The truth was, the humans had hidden their real strength. The Arc-Light fleet had been stored in folded space, sleeping in zero-time hangars, invisible to normal sensors, untouchable by scans, waiting for a reason to rise again. Now they were awake. One Arc-Light ship moved slowly past the Varnock flagship, glowing like a rising sun. Its surface had no metal lines, no weak points. It looked like a perfect shape of light and shadow. No crew was visible, but it moved with a purpose, as if it could think. The Varnock commander stared at it in fear. What are these ships? Who's flying them? Across the ship, every screen lit up again. The same message returned. Earth speaks only when needed. You came uninvited. You came with war. So we answered. A second message followed. Surrender and return, or be erased. Some of the Varnock officers wanted to continue the attack. They are just machines, one shouted. We can destroy them. But others knew better. One ship tried to run. It turned away, engines flaring. The arc-light vessel near it didn't move at first. Then, in a blur, it was gone, and the escaping ship was torn in half before it could leave orbit. Back on Earth, in a high-tech bunker beneath the Pacific Ocean, a group of humans watched everything. Old generals, young analysts, and silent AI systems, all of them observed in quiet calm. We gave the galaxy peace, one general said. They misunderstood our silence. A young officer nodded. Shall we pursue the remaining Varnock? The general thought for a moment. No, let them return. Let them carry the story. Far above, the last Varnock ship stopped firing. They opened a channel to Earth, a signal of surrender. There was no reply, only silence. But they understood, and they left. Across the galaxy, news spread fast. The Varnock had attacked Earth. They had returned broken, their strongest ships gone, their pride shattered. In marketplaces, on star stations, and inside alien governments, one phrase was whispered over and over. Earth is not to be disturbed. And from that day on, humans didn't need to speak loudly. Their silence said enough. The galaxy had been shaken, but Earth had only begun to show what it could do. Whispers in the stars news of the Varnock defeat spread faster than light could travel. In the capital station of the Threx Union, diplomats gathered in panic. A projection hovered above the center of the chamber, showing a Varnock ship exploding into silence, followed by the glowing silhouette of a human arc-light vessel. One of the Threx leaders hissed, "We believed Earth was passive, dormant." "They were," another said, "but we all forgot. Dormant does not mean dead." Across nearby sectors, empires began reviewing their military strategies. Fear replaced arrogance. Plans to conquer human space were burned. Some leaders even suggested opening trade with Earth again, but most were too afraid to even approach. New term began to circulate among the stars. The silent superpower. Earth said nothing. They issued no broadcasts, no diplomatic statements, no threats. But every species now remembered what humans were capable of. On a research outpost in the Yadori Outer Rim, a young alien scientist named Lauren stared at a still image of the arc-light ship. He couldn't stop analyzing it. "It bends light," he whispered. "It moves in ways that break basic motion laws. There's no fuel signature, no drive trails. How do they do this?" His mentor replied quietly. "Because they stopped sharing. Long ago, they stopped teaching the galaxy. Why? Because the galaxy stopped listening and started taking." Back on Earth, the Arclight fleet returned to its slumber. The ships vanished again, folded into hidden pockets of space-time only human systems could access. Only a few humans ever saw them up close. Deep under Antarctica, inside a black site known only as Core Station, a lone technician walked along, a narrow corridor. On either side were stasis pods, each holding blueprints, tech fragments, and devices the galaxy had never seen, and perhaps never should. A voice in his earpiece asked, "Are the Arclight units secured?" "Yes, and something else," the technician replied. "One of the AIs. It's still active." It asked a question. What did it ask? The technician hesitated. It asked, "Are they ready yet?" Silence followed. Then a calm voice answered, "Not yet, but soon." Above, the stars twinkled peacefully over Earth again. But now, every flicker carried a different weight. A warning, a reminder. And far away, in the Varnock home system, leaders gathered in shame. They had been the first to test Earth's silence in decades, and they would likely be the last. The Watchers, wake in the distant regions beyond the mapped galaxy, ancient beings stirred. They were called the Watchers, observers from the first era, long thought to be extinct. They lived in silence, wrapped in time shields, watching civilizations rise and fall. They did not interfere. They only recorded. Until now. One of the Watchers, older than most stars, stared at the footage of Earth's Arclight fleet cutting through the Varnock Armada. His glowing eyes narrowed. "They've advanced further than predicted," he said in a deep voice. Another Watcher floated beside him, wrapped in a shroud of time dust. "They've hidden their growth. They allowed the galaxy to forget. It was a choice." "A clever one," said the first. "But such strength hidden too long becomes dangerous. Shall we act?" "No, not yet. But we must start watching more closely." They turned their gaze to Earth, and from that moment on, humanity had new eyes upon them. Eyes that had seen the rise and fall of empires far greater than the current galaxy had ever known. Back on Earth, the Council of Earth Defense met in a dark chamber under the Himalayas. The walls were made of pulse-reactive metal, and the air buzzed with encrypted data. A woman in a white suit stood at the center, projecting the galactic map in the air. "Surveillance shows increased signal activity from dormant sectors," she said. "The Watchers have awakened. Others, too. Species who remained hidden after the War of 1,000 Suns." An older man in a dark robe nodded. Earth's response was necessary, but it's drawn attention, not just fear, but interest. "We exposed too much," said another. "No," the woman said. "We reminded them." One screen showed distant systems shifting trade routes. Another showed fleets adjusting positions. Even the pirates in ungoverned zones had begun to avoid earthbound travel lanes. But in all this movement, one small probe caught attention. It had entered Earth's system 3 days earlier, invisible, silent, advanced beyond Varnock tech. It moved with purpose, scanning the Arclight ship trails. Inside the moon base, a small alarm blinked, just once. The AI monitoring the signal paused. It traced the source. Then it did something rare. It activated Protocol Wraith from Earth's deep systems. A hidden weapon came online. It wasn't a ship, it wasn't a bomb. It was information, a code-based weapon that rewrote the rules of detection. The probe was caught, hijacked. Its memory erased in less than a second. Then it was returned to sender with a message: "We see you, stay away." Across space, in an unknown location, a being who had sent the probe felt a chill, a rare feeling for one who had not known fear in eons. He turned to his screen. It was blank except for those 4 words. "We see you. Stay away." Earth was not just awake now. It was watching back. The Council's mistake in the heart of the Orion Arm. The Galactic Council gathered in a high-orbit citadel above the gas giant Lurex 9. Representatives from over 100 worlds filled the circular chamber, tension heavy in the air. For decades, Earth had been absent from these meetings, by choice. Now, after the Varnock defeat, every delegate was speaking Earth's name again, but not in anger, in fear. A thick-bodied reptilian counselor slammed his claw on the table. "They revealed weapons no one else in the galaxy can match. Their silence is a threat," an avian delegate replied coolly. "It wasn't Earth that provoked this. The Varnock invaded. Earth responded with restraint." "Restraint?" another voice barked. "They destroyed 9 ships in minutes. What happens when they stop showing restraint?" The council fell into argument, voices rising, data flashing, across holoscreens. Debates turned into accusations. Some suggested building a united fleet. Others warned against further provocation. Then a voice echoed through the chamber, low and calm. "They warned us once. They won't warn again." The speaker was a gray-skinned elder, blind in one eye, wearing a deep blue cloak. He had lived through the first contact war with Earth. "They once begged this council for peace," the elder continued. "We ignored them. We tried to control them. We failed. Then they disappeared. Now they're back, but different, smarter, quiet, deadlier. Then, what do we do? Someone asked. We stay away, but not all agreed. In the shadows of the chamber, a group of war-backing delegates met privately. They represented powerful military-industrial worlds, ones that had long feared Earth's isolation. They believed this was their final chance to act before humans became unstoppable. We still have allies, whispered one. Species who hate Earth's silence, who see them as arrogant. And what do you propose? A test. We send a fleet, not near Earth, but near one of their outer colonies, just close enough to see what they'll do. We don't fire, we only watch. Risky, said another, but necessary. Later that week, a stealth fleet of 7 warships slipped into human-claimed space. Their destination, Station Halvix, a small mining colony on the edge of the Andorra Belt, light years from Earth. They didn't speak. They didn't fire. They just appeared. Back on Station Halvix, a maintenance worker named Tom was cleaning the outer hull when he saw the stars shift. Slowly, black shapes formed against the backdrop of space. At first, he thought it was a shadow. Then he realized those weren't asteroids. He ran inside, slamming his hand on the alarm. Above the station, the 7 warships hovered, silent. Still, they thought no one had noticed, but Earth had eyes everywhere. The moment they crossed the invisible line into human-claimed space, the Sentinel network activated. It was not military. It was not loud. It was immediate. A ripple passed through subspace, an invisible wave of energy. And then, without warning, the warships began to fail. One by one, their systems shut down. Lights died. Engines froze. Weapons disarmed. Their crews panicked. Nothing responded. Not even the escape pods. And then, in the black silence of space, a voice spoke directly into their minds. Not over comms, but through neural shockwaves encoded into quantum signals. We are not a threat until you make us one. The ships began drifting helplessly, powerless like metal coffins. And as suddenly as it began, it ended. Power returned. Control systems flickered back online. The message was clear. You may enter, but you may not leave, unseen. And you will never be the same. A warning, written in silence. The 7 warships fled the moment their engines reactivated. They didn't wait. They didn't scan. They didn't speak. They simply turned and vanished into hyperspace, racing back to their governments with fear gripping their bones. But what they carried wasn't just terror. It was proof. Their data logs were corrupted. Every system that had tried to scan Earth's outer defense network had returned nothing but static. Navigation maps were twisted, sensor records overwritten, but each ship carried one perfect piece of data, a pulse pattern, a signal recorded just before systems went dark. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a language. It was a rhythm. One the humans had used long ago during the First Contact War. A pattern pulsing in binary, older than most of the current galactic species. And when decoded, it said one thing: do not test Earth again. The Galactic Council met once more, this time in complete silence. Delegates looked at each other with quiet dread. No one wanted to speak first, until finally one representative, a thin creature from a cold water world, said what they all feared. They did this without leaving Earth. No ships had left the human homeworld. No fleets had arrived at Station Halvix. And yet their warning had reached across the stars. It had touched ships without touching metal. It had broken into minds without opening a single communication channel. It was something beyond the galaxy's understanding. In the silence that followed, the Council passed its first unanimous vote in centuries. No vessel, diplomatic or military, shall approach Earth or its colonies without permission. Back on Earth, deep inside Core Station, a young analyst named Leo stood before a glowing screen. We intercepted everything? He asked the AI beside him. Yes, the AI replied. As intended. No damage, no casualties, just clarity. Leo nodded. We're not trying to scare them. No, the AI said. But they must remember. Leo turned away, his voice, oh. They already forgot once, and we bled for it. In the following weeks, trade routes shifted again. Stations were moved. Some species tried to open diplomatic channels, but Earth did not respond. The silence continued. But this time, it was not ignored. Entire civilizations began adding Earth as a restricted region in their star maps. Pirates vanished near human space. Former enemies sent tribute, not as allies but as a sign they wished to be left alone. And quietly, deep within hidden chambers on 100 human worlds, new systems activated. Old codes were unlocked. Earth was preparing again, not because they wanted war, but because they knew peace didn't last. And far beyond the stars, even the Watchers, those timeless, ageless beings, began to debate something they had not spoken of in 1,000 years. What if Earth was not the end of a story, but the beginning of a greater one? The quiet crown years passed. The stars still burned, planets still turned, and the galaxy moved on. But something had changed. Though no new wars came near Earth, everyone felt the shift. Galactic powers avoided human systems. Entire trade networks rerouted. Even pirates spoke with hushed voices when crossing former war zones marked by human colonies. Earth hadn't spoken a single word since the Arclight fleet awakened. But they didn't need to. Their silence had become the loudest voice in the galaxy. In a deep observatory station orbiting a dead sun, an old alien philosopher recorded his final journal. There was a time we laughed at Earth. We saw them as violent, short-lived, emotional, but we never asked why they survived so long, why they always came back stronger. Now we understand. Humanity does not scream for power. It waits. And when it rises, it does so with purpose. Not for conquest, but to remind the galaxy what will happen if they are forgotten again. Back on Earth, peace returned. The Arclight, ships were once more hidden, folded into dimensions beyond time. The core station stayed silent, watching, guarding. Cities grew, skies cleared, and people lived their lives. Children played in parks above hidden bunkers. Scientists worked in labs powered by near-magical energy sources. Farmers grew crops using satellites that could bend weather, and all of it remained protected by a warning that needed no ships, no weapons, no voice, only presence. One evening, on a quiet hill near an ocean, a boy looked up at the stars. His grandfather, bold and calm, sat beside him. "Is it true?" the boy asked. "That we scared the galaxy?" The old man chuckled. "No, son. We didn't scare them. We reminded them." Reminded them of what? The old man looked up at the sky, then down, at the earth.